Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Youth in Policy podcast. I'm your host, Alexander Smith, and I'm joined here today by Amy Smith with the Massachusetts League of Women's Voters. The Massachusetts League of Women's Voters is a nonprofit organization in the United States that was formed to help women take a larger role in public affairs after they won the right to vote. It was founded in 1920 to support the new women's suffrage rights. The League of Women Voters began as a mighty political experiment aimed to help newly enfranchised women exercise their responsibilities as voters. Originally, only women could join this league, but in 1973, the charter was modified to include men. The League of Women's Voters' primary purpose is to encourage voting by registering voters, providing voter information, and advocating for voting rights. In addition, the LWV supports a variety of progressive public policy positions, including campaign finance reform, universal health care, abortion rights, climate change action, environmental regulation, and gun control. Thank you, Amy Smith, for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Also joined here today by my co-host, Peggy Liu.
Thank you. So Ms. Smith, just to kind of get us started a little bit, could you tell us a bit more about the League's role in today's world, how it really functions, and the types of events that you guys might do?
Sure. So I just take a step back just a minute to explain a little bit about our structure. That might help a little because you mentioned the League of Women Voters of Massachusetts, of which I'm on the board. There's also a National League of Women Voters. And then every league member is, well, most league members are members of their local leagues too. So I'm a member, for example, of the League of Women Voters of Topsfield, Boxford, and Middleton. So the league is a three-tiered organization, and I wanted to point that out because the Massachusetts League celebrated our 100th anniversary along with the National League last year. So two anniversaries of which we're very proud. So yeah, the league has always been, like you mentioned, always in the forefront of supporting voter rights. And education and civic education. But a third aspect of the league that should be mentioned, and I think is to your point, Peggy, kind of what we're doing in like today's world is advocacy. We do a lot of legislative advocacy. As a matter of fact, Nancy Pelosi was quoted as saying she considers the league to be the gold standard in advocacy, and that she always tells her staff to pay attention if the league calls and you know, has opines on something. So we take positions on issues. As a matter of fact, so we're nonpartisan. We don't advocate for political parties or candidates, but we will take positions on issues, and we'll advocate for them at our various levels, whether local, state, or national. And I think that's very key now, especially with all the things that are going on today. Did I answer your question? I know I went off on a tangent.
No, okay. Yeah, no, for sure. So kind of like what you said about civic education and advocacy as being like a main purpose of the league, we were kind of wondering, are there any kind of specific examples of advocacy or events that you guys at the league have participated in, or anything that kind of stood out to you as being really momentous at this time?
All right. Well, actually, every year we have a lobby day here in Massachusetts. We have a lobby day on the Hill, Beacon Hill, where we get to meet with our legislators and talk with them about where we stand on various issues. We are often part of other coalitions for various issues, and we will join them in terms of advocacy efforts. We have a legislative advocacy committee comprised of specialists in various issue areas. For example, immigration, criminal reform, gun control, women's rights, environment. And that committee studies legislation for the Massachusetts State Legislature, for example. The bills are coming out now. So our Legislative Advocacy Committee is very, very busy studying those and being prepared to take a position and being prepared to testify on the league's position as appropriate.
Oh, okay. So what kind of testifying do you guys do? Is it like writing things or proposing different ideas? I'm just kind of curious what kind of, I guess, how do you go about testifying when it comes to these things?
Sure, and I'm not on that committee, so I can only speak to what I've seen in action. Like a lot of us will go support our colleagues. Like I'm on the State Environmental Action and Advocacy Committee, and one of my co-chairs, she's like the specialist for our state league, and she will go and testify. So if there's for example, a hearing about a proposed bill, say an energy bill, Lana she would be the expert on that bill and where it stands in terms of the league's, stands on these issues.
Mhm.
And she would testify on behalf of the league about the bill. She would prepare a statement, and then she would go and present at the hearing. And then go on the record then as for the league.
Right. So talking about kind of the structure of the League of Women's Voters and how it's kind of evolved over time, with the recent pandemic going on, has it been a little bit more difficult trying to campaign for more voter advocacy and voters' rights in an age where kind of everything has to be online?
Great question. And I have to say, I'm very proud of us. We've really risen to the occasion. We're all experts on Zoom. We've met. I've been like that's most of my Zoom meetings, our league meetings. We've met on all levels. We even had we had a national convention last year, and that met on Zoom. We celebrated our 100th anniversary. Our state league. We had our event on Zoom. So we've managed to still do the business of the league pretty much. The only thing we miss out on, of course, is the hanging out, the camaraderie, socializing. But we still managed to get a lot done.
Has there been an increase or a dip in the amount of interaction and growth you're seeing with the league in this age of being online? Because while a lot of especially the youth are online most of the time anyways, and especially with COVID, is it still more difficult, or are you seeing an uptick in interaction with the league and with interest in voting?
Oh, in terms of our advocacy and voter education, we've actually, our membership overall actually increased, but we think it may be more a function of the current political climate. I know that's why I joined the league in 2015, where I saw a direction that things were going in terms of elections. And we see that happen a lot, actually. If people become interested in what's going on, and then they want to help, and then they join up. Specifically for COVID, though, we've had people join up, and I think what's helped a little bit is that people can attend meetings in the comfort of their own home. Up here, you're in California, right? So up here in New England, it's, we have our winters, and I think that people can get to meetings a lot more easily than they could if, we were still relying on meeting in person. And especially true for our board. We try to have a representation good representation on our board for the whole state. And I've noticed that people seem to be able to make meetings much more easily. So
yeah. And do you guys kind of on a local level, as you mentioned with the structure of the League of Women Voters, do any sort of community bonding events or civic socials to kind of get more people outside of just the league itself involved in the communities?
Yes, we do. Depending on the community, we many local leagues have partner organizations that they do events with, like voter registration. Many local leagues will do an issues forums. They'll present speakers about a league issue. What's very popular are candidates forums, for election time. For example, I'm in the 6th Congressional District here in Massachusetts, and our representative is Congressman Seth Moulton, and we had a candidates forum for the Democratic primary. Several North Shore leagues here collaborated on that, and that went off very well. And it was all done via Zoom. So so there's many events that local leagues can do. They will also have, for example, voter outreach for high schools. They'll go and try to register voters.
And speaking of high schools that you kind of mentioned, We're kind of curious, like, is there a way for youth to get involved in the league as well, or is it just mostly for like adults out there who want to participate in their communities more, or could like youth also volunteer at the league or help out?
I'm glad you asked. So the league is really now for all genders and students. We welcome students. In fact, students can join for free. Of 16 on up. Some local leagues have actual student like auxiliary. I don't want to say auxiliaries, but like a student, like a high school club. There's a local league here in Newton who has a high school league that they mentor and support. But yeah, students are encouraged to join. We like the energy. We like the ideas. Yeah, they can join for free. Right through, and student membership is free through college.
So kind of going off of that, I guess, I don't want to keep on repeating myself or anything, but this podcast is, I guess, for youth. So we're kind of curious, like, what ways have you seen youth get involved, whether that's local government or politics or any sort of civic advocacy, particular within the league, or like you mentioned with the Newton chapter, is there anything that their high school has particularly done that maybe like other high schools could try to start up like a league chapter of their own and help out in that sort of field?
Sure. I remember most recent thing I can remember is that they did a civics bee, which was kind of, yeah, those are always popular. It's they do a civics bee for, as an event, as a way to, camaraderie and to get the word out about the league. And so they organize that. But there's also a lot of, we had a, well, I'm thinking before times, before COVID, where we could all see each other. There was a large climate action demonstration here in Boston. And a lot of league was part of the coalition to support, that the climate strike. So that was another way we got involved. Yeah, so I don't have my league. My local league does not itself work with have like its own high school league. So I can't speak to a lot of things that that local leagues may be doing with youth, but so we do know that what youth are encouraged to join local leagues and and participate as much as they can, as much as they're able.
Right. And so coming back, just not backpedaling, but going back to some of the stuff you said at the beginning, you said that the organization is nonpartisan, but they take stances on certain issues.
Mm-hmm.
Are there state or local chapters or organizations that conflict with the kind of overarching support? Do they tend to disagree on certain things? Is there kind of a, what would you say, a roughing of opinions there? Is there ever a struggle?
In terms of how we might work with people, other organizations? Or
just in terms of, like, say one local chapter of the LWV supports one political position, not
I see what you're asking.
That's like that. But yeah, I know my wording was probably a little porous. My apologies. But do they ever kind of conflict with one another on what issues specifically they support?
No, because the issues that the league supports starts at the top and then comes down. So the National League will develop a program and issues they want to focus, like every couple of years at the National Convention. They'll have a program of issues and things that they want to focus on. And then that information goes to the state leagues and then down to the local leagues. And overall, there is a document called the Impact on Issues that's published by the National League that gives a pretty detailed overview of the issues that the league takes a stand on. I don't say takes a stand on, but has an opinion on. So that's kind of the backbone of the issues that that the league supports. Provides the backbone for that. we can't do it all the time, of course, and that's why every couple of years, we look at what we're working on. So, for example, last year, the emphasis was on voter rights and making sure everyone had the right access to be able to vote.
So do you guys, and this is kind of a question both for the listeners and just for us here, does the league have involvement in other countries? Of course, they were founded in the United States, but do you guys have involvement in like Canada or places in Europe?
No, we're strictly American.
Strictly American.
Yeah.
Okay. Has there ever been any talk about moving into another country, not moving into another country, but doing work in another country or collaborations between organizations?
Well, it's an interesting question. Because you have to look at the other countries and how they're structured in terms of what they vote. Like, so for example, Denmark, I know that because my late husband was Danish. They have a constitutional monarchy. They may vote for a prime minister. So, but I think though that wouldn't make. I don't think it would make sense because the league was founded on suffrage here in the United States, and the hard-won right of American women to vote. So I don't know that. I think we have a lot of work to do here still.
Yeah, and kind of like you mentioned, with like the structure of the league itself, I'm kind of curious, does the National League like elect the local and state member boards, like the one that you're serving on Massachusetts, or is it like local communities, they elect the people to serve on these like chapter level or like state level boards?
It's all done within the leagues themselves. So at my local league, we elect our local board every year. At the state league, actually well, let me take a step back. Many larger leagues have nominating committees. My local league does not. We ask people if they want to serve on the board. The state league has a nominating committee that seeks out people who may want to serve on the state board, and then I imagine that's the same at the state level. There's a nominating committee, and they look for people who might want to serve at the national level. So it's reflected, the hierarchy and the way it's governed is reflected at each tier. But the people who are selected or nominated to serve on the boards and govern, that's they're picked from within the league.
So could you tell us a little bit more about, I guess, your board position or your kind of involvement within the league?
Sure. So at the state level, I'm on the state board, and as such, I'm responsible for being every board member is on at least one committee. So I'm co-chair of the membership committee, and I'm on the nominating committee, and I'm on the environmental action and advocacy committee. And people can be as involved as they want to. But the membership committee, we're looking at a lot of different things. For example, we're looking at ways to make membership something that's sustainable. It's a challenging time now. With people, the economy is a little uncertain, and people might not be able to, maybe people want to be part of the league, but maybe it's not economically available to them. So we're looking at ways to make like membership very accessible to people. We want to diversify our membership, of course, not only age-wise, but economically, gender, ethnicity, things like that. Other board members are on the Legislative Advocacy Committee, as I talked about before. Of course, there's an executive committee. So there's a lot of work to be done.
So one issue that's getting really popular right now, especially among youth, and we're seeing it in certain areas, I believe, of the UK. I may be wrong on that, but as far as I'm aware, it's what's going on, is first past the post voting versus ranked voting. Does either the state of Massachusetts or the national organization have an opinion on first past the post versus ranked voting?
And I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch the first thing. The first, we said first.
First past the post, so kind of like American voting, where it's just you get this many votes, and you're good. And that's like with the presidency versus other areas where it's, and I think some states as well, where it's representative. So if you got 20% of the votes or whatever, your party got 20% of the votes, get that many seats.
All right. Okay. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. So no, the league definitely is for ranked choice voting. And we've come out on that. Actually, that was a ballot question last fall on the Massachusetts ballot, and the league came out in favor of that. Sadly, it did not pass here. It works in Maine. So, but yeah, so we took a position on that. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, just kind of to get a viewpoint on the views. So just clarify, because again, we want some of the listeners to just be more aware, and it's a big reason why we brought you on, is we wanted to make sure get more youth involved in your organization.
Yes.
Because you guys do some great work, definitely.
Yeah, and then also, in terms of explaining more about ranked choice voting, one of the reasons we promote that is because we think that it's going to keep or get more people involved, get more people to vote. If you feel your vote's going to count, then that you're more likely to vote. And I think ranked choice voting is definitely one of the ways to accomplish that, and the league feels that way. Yeah.
And in our communication in setting up this podcast episode, you had mentioned something about. Let me find the exact details on it. Sorry about that. What was it? Oh, wow, am I not able to find it? Here we go. I remember you. You had mentioned the video contest for high school students in Massachusetts. Could you explain that just a little bit more?
Well, absolutely. So we've been doing this for a while. It's and so every year the state league invites all high school students across Massachusetts to enter a themed video contest. And it's like 30 seconds, and we reach out to libraries, high schools, and to promote this, and students create a 30-second video around a theme, and we promote the winning videos through LWVMA social media. And before COVID, the winners got their awards at the State House with their local representative. We do it virtually now with COVID. So yes, and I'm drawing a blank on this year's theme, and I'll just go run over to our state site and look for that. Well, you can ask another question, but I can tell you our theme about that in a sec. The local theme, this year's theme.
I think actually I might have seen it. It was something about like what you've learned about democracy in 2020.
That's it. Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly it. We learned about, what did you learn about democracy as a result of last year's election, right?
Well, thank you again, Amy Smith, for joining us. Again, thank you, listeners, for coming to this episode of the Youth and Policy Podcast. Hope you all have a great day, and I hope you, Amy Smith, you have a safe night. Hope there's no issues or anything regarding the rest of your night.
Thank you, and thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to continue to support us, you can do so by checking out our Instagram pages at YIP Institute and at Watch Verbum. You can also look at our website at www.yipinstitute.com. Be sure to follow our page as we upload multiple videos weekly. Have a good day.